It's true. It is my turn. Let's do it. I have a 1-star review of Macy's Santaland. It is also from Yelp. It is written by Tara C. Tara C is not an elite reviewer, but Tara C did include a photograph of, I assume, her daughter on the lap of Santa. This review was written a little over 2 years ago.
Okay.
And this is Tara C. Warning, this experience will ruin Christmas. This is the first review I've ever written on Yelp because I feel compelled to spare some other unknowing guests this awful experience. Beside the fact that although having a reservation on a Tuesday midday, my family, 8-year-old and 4-year-old, still waited 2 hours. I know, it's Christmas time in New York City. I expected to wait, but not in a tiny red hallway, getting jammed in by elves and probably contracting God knows what for 2 hours. Had I known at the beginning how long it would take, we would have left. But carry on we did. Santaland, once you actually get in, is a joke. Everything seems old and just gross. I didn't want my kids touching anything. I'm attaching a photo of the Santa we finally did see. Go ahead and zoom in. I need to write no more on that. Seriously, Macy's, this was the best Santa you could get. Had my children not had a really incredible experience elsewhere, this Macy's Santa would have ruined Christmas for my children. I'd never get them to believe after this. My 8-year-old gasped when she saw Santa and said, "Oh my God, this is the fakest Santa I've ever seen." My 4-year-old wondered why kids were going into different rooms with different Santas. So, unless you want to ruin the Christmas magic for your children, do not come here. Right? I mean, we got to zoom in on this photo, which
Can you share it?
I mean, I can share it. Yeah.
Is it just like a
that
fake beard?
bad? It's definitely a fake beard. Okay. And like I said before, ordinarily, like it was quite a what do you call it? Like an honor to be the Macy's Santa, you know? Like I know a few Santas personally, or relatives of Santa, I guess. I don't know. I know a few people that dress as Santa and they all have real beards. And this Santa, I just texted it to you.
Yeah, I would think that you would have that would be a prerequisite. But
yeah, this Santa definitely does not have a real beard.
Oh yeah,
can't really get a good gauge on the age of this Santa, but the Santa has a fake beard, a fake mustache, fake eyebrows, fake white curly hair coming out of the hat. That being said, and I don't know that like this does much, the costume is excellent. Right? No?
Here, I'm going to share so that Patreon can see. Do you see the picture of Santa?
Yes.
Yeah, like, yeah, it's a nice costume. It feels a little Nordic to me.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a decent Santa.
It seems to me
wardrobe.
that this man is probably in his 40s.
Right. Agreed.
I'm just really tripped out by these eyebrows.
The eyebrows are pretty bad. Whoever did the eyebrow wig job. Yeah. I mean, the thing that was most disturbing to me about this review, and I guess I will say not, yes, disturbing, but also impactful, was the idea that there are multiple rooms with multiple Santas.
Right, because I mean, you would think that they would be able to disguise that in a way that a 4-year-old isn't going to figure that out.
Right. And do you think that that's why do you think they just got the raw end of the deal here? And that's why they're in this like cramped hallway, because that's how they differentiate who's going to see the different Santas. Like there's different waiting line areas, and they just got pushed to the corner.
I literally have no idea how it works, but I do know that they have different ethnic Santa Clauses, and they have a selection of different kinds of Santas one can get. You can make a special request for that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But I don't know how it works out. That's like listed in the FAQ on the website, which is the only reason I know that. But I would be surprised if that was my Santa, because it seems pretty rough.
Yeah, it's definitely not what I would imagine the caliber of the, Macy's Santa would be. Like I was very surprised.
Well, okay, so I do think that this is pretty valuable. I kind of side with Tara on this
completely.
I have a couple of thoughts here though. Like if your little precocious 8-year-old is gasping, oh my gosh, this is the fakest Santa I've ever seen.
Right.
I think this little daughter needs to get coal in her stocking. Something about that is a little too precarious. Chill out.
Yeah, you a little too precocious.
But I also get, like, if the 8-year-old isn't even believing, then maybe you're failing at the whole point of Santaland.
Right.
The whole thing about it does also make me start thinking about what it would be like to be hired as Santa. There's so much pressure. Like, you could literally ruin it. And like, you just have to, like,
but don't you think that but that's the responsibility you take. I mean, every job that you have comes with some sort of something.
It is funny to me that at the beginning, Tara says, like, we were jammed in by elves. That sounds like a really funny album. Jammed in by elves.
Also very cinematic, like I felt like I could see in Elf. Was that supposed to be Macy's too?
I'm positive, probably.
Okay.
And Christmas Story is like a fake version of it.
Yeah. I mean,
what's the spelling like here?
I think spelling and grammar is great. I didn't notice any complaints. We did, when I was obviously exaggerating, we did use some caps throughout, some exclamation points, but not really like offensive. We've had reviews before where the whole thing is written in caps. It was just like a little bit sprinkled in, which is fine with me. Really solid on the spelling and grammar from Tara.
Do you think Tara's being truthful or shady?
I think Tara is being truthful. I think I would believe that maybe the whole Macy's experience has lost its luster. That's why with the first review, I think there's something very like nostalgic and pure about Macy's in the 1950s. And I think today, dealing with the masses of people, I mean, the population alone has gone up tremendously since then. So, dealing with the crowds and everything that you have to account for today, I do believe this is a more truthful representation of an experience in the modern era.
I think what I believe that the children didn't buy it, and I believe Tara, when Tara shares that the 4-year-old noticed and said, why are there multiple houses of Santas? But something feels a little shady. Like, if that is the issue, like, Tara was already done by the fact that they still had to wait after making a reservation, which
I was going to say,
upsetting.
like, what do we want to say about that? Because, like, I think waiting a half hour after a reservation is okay, but I think waiting 2 hours
is extreme.
And at very least, I don't know. I don't know how hectic and crazy it gets there, but in my mind, I would think if we're running that behind, we got to push it back and say, like, come back in a couple hours. Sorry, at very least. Like, we're having people that have reservations waiting online for 2 hours.
I mean, there is a question there, but then about everything looking old, like, everything is taken down and then put back up. So, like, sure, here's a question. Is it the same stuff from 1950?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think it might be.
I'm sure.
And even if it is taken down and putting up, even if it is taken down and placed back into place for the next season, there still should be a little reno now.
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know. I don't work for Macy's, but I'm sure that it's like, I'm sure they have their, like, nostalgic evergreen pieces that return every year, but I would imagine it continues to change. Like, I'm sure that's not the Santa Claus seat. But I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
So this is what I'm hearing from you, and I think I'm agreeing. What I'm hearing for you is this might be a common experience in terms of waiting online, etc.
Yeah.
Where we're questioning things is this a very precocious family? Is this a family that needs to be top of the line? Everything has to be pristine and perfect. And if it's not, then it's terrible. Like there's no gray area for Tara C and fam. It's just like, it's either, you know, the highest of caliber or the lowest of lows. And we have these precocious children that are used to getting everything, you know, with the fakest Santa I've ever seen, like that kind of stuff. Is that where you're struggling?
I guess I just sort of feel like it ultimately, Santa himself was a disappointment. And then in writing the review, I feel like Tara was just undone with everything.
Sure.
Children are the most germy things that exist in the world.
Correct.
So saying I don't want my kids to touch anything and you're inside of a Macy's is a little like, okay, I think Tara is protesting too much because Tara was really disappointed. That being said, if I'm taking my children to this make-believe character under the guise that we're all pretending it's real, then you need to help execute that. I mean, point blank. So,
well, that's the thing is I feel like Tara C brought up a lot of concerns that I would want to know if I was going to bring my kids to, you know, Santaland.
I guess I just feel like, I don't know.
But I hear you. There was a lot of there was a lot of knocking on things, which tends to happen when we have a bad experience, right?
Correct.
So we do have to consider that it's probably not as gross or as fake or as whatever,
or maybe it is,
or maybe it is.
But I do think the big value is that you're probably going to be waiting.
I know. I wonder what I would do to adjust accordingly if I knew that. Maybe pack snacks.
I think I can crown this. How do you feel?
I feel a bit conflicted, but I'm gonna crown it.
All right, let's do it.
The queens are tabulating.
Oh, I'm conflicted too, but okay, I think I'm ready. Are you?
I'm conflicted, but yeah.
Total score.
Great. Trey and I are unanimous. We both gave 3.5. I was between 3.5 and 4. I don't know if you were between 3 and 3.5. Why don't you go first?
I don't know. I just said 3.5 because I don't think that I would read this review and make my decision. Same with the 1-star or the 5-star review from before. I need more context here. I would want to, this is once again just arming me with information about like, I need to make sure that my children are distracted and they don't notice there's multiple little houses or huts with Santas. And if I need to like brace myself, like I'm going to Disney World and it's going to be a long day of waiting around.
Agreed.
And I would imagine that the kids are going to want to touch everything. So I want to like see if it's dirty and gross because everything's glittery and shiny and sparkly. So like to me, I don't know. I don't really know how I land. So I gave it a half more than middle of the road. So that's why I did 3.5. I don't know. Why did you do 3.5?
I did 3.5 because I did feel like Tara C provided me with a lot of information that I'm going to be chewing on before I make this decision. It would implore me to do a little more research, which for me is not necessarily a bad thing. Just like, are other people having this experience? Do other people think it's gross? Do other people think, you know, the Santas are really unrealistic? These are things that Tara has really piqued my interest in. And for that, I think it's a good review. There were no spelling or grammar issues. It was very easy to read. That is something that I factor in when I'm giving my points. I took away 1.5 crowns because I wasn't sure if Tara C and family was a little pretentious and if their expectations would be higher than the average consumer. So that was where they lost the 1.5 crown for me. But I did think it was a useful review. So 3.5.
Yeah, I hear you.
Great.
Well, I mean, I've never been to Santaland. I'm assuming you haven't either.
I mean, well, don't assume I've never sat on Santa's lap because I have.
Really?
I have. My family was never the kind of family that was like, you're not allowed to believe in Santa or like have that experience as a kid because, I mean, it's very Americanized, you know, it's sort of a part of the. Oh my goodness.
Have you ever
that
seen
is
this picture?
hilarious. No, I have not. That is so, there's a picture
So
of
Patreon is
Trey.
saying.
Patreon is seeing a picture of Trey getting spanked by Santa, a good Santa, I might add.
Real beard.
Real beard, like, and David is looking like, what? Get off my man, or what? You're spanking my man, or what's happening here? It's really, really cute, you guys.
I'll share the story behind that on our Patreon.
Yeah, my dad had a patient that was a firefighter and also Santa Claus. So a couple times he drove by our house in the fire truck as Santa, and I sat in
Aw.
his lap. So my parents were not anti-Santa by any means, even though we're Jewish. So
You just reminded me, we used to have Santa drive through our neighborhood and throw candy cans on the fire
yeah,
truck. I forgot about that.
yeah. it
All
was
right.
fun.
Well, I don't think that the 5-star that I shared with for the episode today gives us any sort of real power to compare. But I would love to share the other one I found in our after show podcast.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it.
But I think I would be charmed by Macy's and Santaland and consider going, but it isn't something I would be interested, to be honest. And it does, I really would anticipate it just being a mob scene. I mean, it's like Herald Square, it's always a mob scene.
Exactly.
So
I feel like there is a similarity here to all the reviews that we do of Times Square when it's like, if I'm going to be taking on this endeavor, I better expect that it's going to be a little bit of mayhem.
Totally.
Yeah, or a lot of it.
All right, my queen.
Baby, it's time.